Hello, friend, and welcome to the Sleepy Meteorologist. Tonight, we're drifting gently into the quiet, swirling world of tornadoes. Not the dramatic kind from warning sirens or midday headlines, but the softened version, the one you can rest beside. We'll explore their quiet beginnings, their graceful spin, and the way even storms have a rhythm that can lull you. Maybe your day has been long, or maybe you're simply in need of something soft to rest your thoughts on. Either way, this is your time now. Your breath can slow, your shoulders can settle. You've arrived. Outside your window, the sky might be star-scattered or cloud-covered, humid or cool, still or breezy. Whatever weather you find there, it's just right for this moment. These stories are here for your comfort. No alerts, no demands, just a bedtime voyage through the atmosphere. If you enjoy these calming meteorology journeys, you're always welcome to like or subscribe, only if it feels peaceful to do so. It helps other dreamy explorers find their way here too. So now, you can snuggle in. Let the blankets fall like gentle cloud layers. Let's drift into our journey. Let's begin. In the earliest stages, tornadoes do not roar. They whisper, high above the ground, where clouds stretch and curl like watercolor brushstrokes in motion. Something begins. It's not loud. It's not sudden. It's the kind of shift you'd miss if you weren't looking for it. A gentle veer in the wind, a soft layering of air at different heights. Tornadoes begin not in chaos, but in choreography. Up there, inside the structure of a parent thunderstorm, warm, moist air is rising from below, while cooler, drier air flows above. Where they meet, the air begins to turn, not wildly, but with elegance. This is not yet a tornado, but a seed of rotation, a suggestion. This moment of beginning is quiet, like a thought forming before words arrive. Wind shear, the change in wind direction and speed with height, starts to tilt and stretch columns of air. The result isn't turbulent, it's organized, like a ballerina's slow spin, poised and purposeful. As the rotation strengthens aloft, it becomes what meteorologists call a mesocyclone, a broad, gentle spin that may or may not descend to the earth below. But here, in this hush-filled beginning, nothing is guaranteed. There is only potential, only structure slowly assembling itself in layers. You can imagine the atmosphere like a great symphony warming up. No fanfare yet, just individual instruments quietly tuning to the environment around them. Temperature, humidity, instability, lift, they must all align. Nothing forces itself. Everything flows, balances, and rises with intention. If you were lying in a field beneath this sky, you might not notice a thing. The grass would rustle softly. The horizon would remain steady. Above you, though, the atmosphere would be assembling a staircase of motion, a quiet coil gathering itself from vapor and variance. There's a softness to this origin that many don't expect. We're taught to think of tornadoes as sudden things, but in truth, they take their time. They unfurl. They prepare themselves like dancers entering a slow, deliberate waltz. It all begins high, where the air is thin and free, where clouds tower like slow-moving castles. Within those walls, the air gently turns. It isn't menacing, it isn't loud, it is graceful, air learning to move in circles, trying out the rhythm. Even the thunder, if it rumbles, sounds distant and padded. There is no urgency, no alarm, just the sound of the sky contemplating something more, without rushing toward it. You can picture the beginning of a tornado like a leaf spiraling in still air, delicate, quiet, barely there, or like mist swirling in a bowl, invisible except by the way it moves the surrounding moisture. It is an atmospheric dream beginning to take form, and still nothing has touched the ground. There is no funnel, no column, only the idea of rotation, the hint of spin, a peaceful drift of energy aloft, suspended in the cathedral space of clouds. This is how tornadoes begin, not in fear, not in clamour, but in layers, in softness, in whispers, too high to hear. And so we begin here too, at the top of the sky, where the first quiet turn invites the rest to follow. Before the spin tightens, before the funnel reaches, or the clouds stretch downward, the world below often stills. This moment, the hush before rotation intensifies, is not a warning. It is a pause, a breath drawn in by the atmosphere, a kind of sky-held stillness that wraps the land in softness. Trees that had swayed moments ago now hold their posture. Leaves flatten against their branches, resting. Insects tuck into bark and grass. Birds pause in flight and seek out quiet corners. Even the tall grasses bend less, like the world itself is slowing its pulse. Some call this the eerie calm, but here, within the softened world of the sleepy meteorologist, we call it serene. It is not a fearsome quiet, but a beautiful one, the kind of stillness that invites attention, the kind that asks you to notice the texture of the air, the coolness of a shadow, the way your breath moves through your chest. During this moment, the air is still deciding. Moisture has risen. Rotation may be forming aloft, but down here, on porches and fields and sidewalks, the wind has not yet found its path. The balance has not yet tipped. There's something comforting in that, in knowing that the atmosphere takes its time, that even the most complex weather begins with deliberation, with silence, with a lull. This is the exhale before the inhale of motion, a meditative pause held between layers of air, not tense, not heavy, just momentarily quiet, like a room where everyone has settled into listening. If you were to step outside during this calm, you might hear sounds you didn't notice before. The ticking of a wind chime without wind, the low buzz of a bee moving slowly from bloom to bloom. The world feels tuned inward, focused. Above, the parent cloud continues to grow, slowly rising, its base stretching wide. If it were visible in full, it would look like an anvil spreading across the sky, broad, dignified, and floating. Its heart pulses upward, but gently, feeding on the warmth below with no rush. Within it, rotation might be organizing. Aloft, layers of air might be beginning to slide past one another, but the surface stays still, like the bottom of a lake when only the surface ripples. The calm before the spin is sacred in its softness, a reminder that the world doesn't always leap into action. Sometimes it waits, it holds, it breathes, and you, listening now, are part of that breath. Safe within this pocket of air, you are surrounded by balance. The balance before change, the quiet before motion, the peace before the dance of rotation begins. Let it lull you. Let it remind you that not all stillness signals alarm. Sometimes it simply means the world is listening to itself, to the sky, to you. Deep within certain supercell thunderstorms, those tall, layered towers of sky, there exists a special kind of motion. It is not fierce. It is not hurried. It is slow, measured, turning with the softness of thought. This is the mesocyclone, and it is the atmosphere's gentle cradle of rotation. Imagine a column of air miles across, slowly twisting within the storm's heart. From the outside, it may seem invisible, hidden behind curtains of cloud and drifting rain. But inside, within the architecture of the supercell, the mesocyclone moves with grace, an enormous, spiraling pocket of wind turning quietly in the mid-levels of the sky. It begins, as so many things do, with contrast. Warm, moist air lifting from the surface, cooler, drier air flowing in from above. A difference in temperature, a difference in direction, air beginning to curve softly in response. Add wind shear, and that curve begins to stretch and tilt. The result? A wide, slow, horizontal spin, raised upright and held within the cloud like a dancer balanced mid-turn. You could think of the mesocyclone as a peaceful carousel suspended in the air, spinning not for show, but for structure. It is not yet dangerous. It is not yet reaching. It is potential, rotating with the steadiness of something trying to understand its purpose. From the ground, you wouldn't feel this spin. You wouldn't see it unless you knew exactly where to look. But it is there, high above, organizing the energies of the storm. It acts as the storm's center of choreography, a pivot around which air moves, rises, and flows. Within the mesocyclone, updrafts swirl, gently lifting air miles into the atmosphere. Moisture condenses into towering clouds. A fluted base may form, broad and low, like the underside of a bell. And from there, sometimes, only sometimes, a funnel may descend. But that comes later. For now, we stay in the cradle. Not every mesocyclone will birth a tornado. Many simply spin aloft and then dissolve, like dreams that never needed to be spoken. Others linger longer, helping to structure the storm, giving it balance and symmetry. If you could drift beside one, high in the sky, it would not feel frightening. It would feel spacious. The air would feel thick with motion, but not with pressure. It is the kind of movement you feel in your bones more than your skin, an immense, rotating breath of sky. And yet, as wide as it is, the mesocyclone remains contained. It does not shout. It does not rush. It turns with the slow confidence of a planet spinning, of time unfolding. It is the sky's lullaby to itself. This is where tornadic life may one day begin, not in violence, but in spiral, in softness, in something wide enough to hold possibility, and quiet enough not to force it. So, the mesocyclone continues its turn, a slow orbit, a cradle of what might be, held in the arms of the storm, held in the hands of the wind, held in the gentle patience of the atmosphere, which always gives rotation time to decide what it wants to become. In the invisible corridors of the sky, the wind does something beautiful. It bends, it layers, it folds. This gentle sculpting is called wind shear, a quiet shift in wind direction and speed as you move upward through the atmosphere. And though it happens in silence, it shapes storms with the delicacy of paper folding. A kind of invisible origami, soft, subtle, and essential. Picture the air near the surface moving one way, perhaps from the south, slow and warm. Higher up, the wind might shift, coming from the west, stronger and cooler. As layers of air move past each other, they begin to roll and tilt. They stretch, like taffy, pulled by altitude. These differences don't crash or collide. They slide, they curl, they gently twist into tubes of rotating air, lying sideways at first, unseen and unbothered. And when an updraft comes along, a warm column of rising air, it may lift that horizontal rotation upright, like lifting a curled ribbon into a spiral. The spin is now vertical, coiling upward, organized, elegant, ready to be shaped further by the storm. This is how the air prepares for rotation, not with brute force, but with layers gracefully arranged. Wind shear is not a violent force. It is a quiet suggestion, a nudge in different directions at different heights. And this difference is what allows storms to breathe deeply and rotate softly. Like origami, it's not about speed, it's about structure. One fold leads to the next. One layer supports the others. Together, they create shape, stability, potential. In strong storms, this layered wind profile creates separation between the rising updraft and the falling downdraft. This separation gives the storm room to build, to last, to rotate. The dance becomes sustainable. The spiral becomes steady. And yet, you'd never know it by looking up. The sky might seem calm, or filled with the slow breath of cumulus towers. But above, the atmosphere is folding itself into form. Every spiral in the sky owes something to shear. Every tornado, every mesocyclone begins with this unseen architecture. And still, it never demands attention. It is the artist behind the curtain, the hand that folds air into motion, that guides the unseen threads of sky into patterns, the whisper of difference between calm and spin. So next time you feel the breeze at your feet and see clouds drifting in a different direction above, know this: the sky is folding, quietly, gently, not into conflict, but into design. There is a stretch of land in the central United States where the sky often chooses to spin, not because it must, but because the land and air here meet with a softness that welcomes rotation. This region is called Tornado Alley, but tonight we give it a gentler name: the land of patient spirals. Stretching across states like Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and beyond, this area is defined not by chaos, but by its openness. Wide plains, low trees, a horizon that feels like the edge of the world. There is room here for wind to roam, for air to rise, for weather to unfurl without obstacle. Each evening, warm, moist air drifts northward from the Gulf of Mexico, moving quietly across farmland and pasture. It carries the warmth of southern waters and the humidity of a generous sea. As it journeys north, it slips beneath cooler, drier air arriving from the Rocky Mountains and the deserts beyond. The meeting of these air masses isn't loud. It's like two pages of a book gently coming together, each with a story to tell. And where they meet, clouds begin to rise, slow and towering. The flatness of the land helps. There are few hills to disrupt the wind's movement, few forests to muffle its layering. The geography here allows the sky to express itself fully, cleanly, spaciously. It's not just the land though, it's the timing. Springtime brings warming soil, blooming fields, and sunlit afternoons that prime the atmosphere for lift. The ingredients align with care, like a recipe prepared slowly and thoughtfully. Storms form here not because they are forced, but because everything quietly agrees to allow it. The dry line, a boundary between moist eastern air and dry western air, often forms across these plains. It acts like a soft hinge in the sky, where moisture can climb and cooler air can glide above. Lift begins. Layers separate. Rotation becomes possible. And sometimes, from this mixture of ingredients and space, a tornado forms. But not always. Often, the sky simply spins above the ground, content to remain aloft. The air murmurs, the clouds stretch, and the plains continue on. The beauty of Tornado Alley lies in its subtlety, in the way the land listens to the wind, in the way the sky finds permission to rotate here, with no resistance. It is not a violent place. It is a canvas, a place where the atmosphere paints in motion, layering air with patience, with rhythm, with quiet intent. The plains do not demand tornadoes. They simply allow them. And even when the sky spins, the earth remains steady beneath it. Fields continue to sway. Grasses ripple in soft waves. The horizon holds everything in balance. And you, listening now, are held too. Held by a land that understands space. Held by a sky that spins only when it's ready. Held by the gentle meeting of ground and air, where the spiral finds its softest beginning. Tornadoes, from afar, are not roars. They are low tones, like thunder whispered, like sky remembering how to hum. Many describe the sound as a freight train in the distance. Others say it buzzes or growls. But when you listen from safety, from stillness, what you truly hear is something subtler, a vibration, a union of wind and earth murmuring beneath cloud. This sound is not always heard with ears. It's often sensed, felt in the chest before it's named. The way bass moves through the bones of a wall, the way deep wind speaks through glass. If you were to lie in a quiet field, before the spin touches ground, before any rain falls, you might feel that deepening sound in your body before you recognize it as wind. It's not a shriek, it's not a scream. It is the sky humming to itself, softly. Some who've stood beneath distant rotation say the air feels thick, tuned like a drum stretched taut. Others describe it like a bowl being bowed, a long drawn note with no beginning or end. This tone is shaped by the landscape. Over open prairie, it flows long and steady, rolling like waves of cello. In tree-filled places, it rustles quietly through branches, barely distinguishable from a breeze. Over water, it becomes a shimmer, a tone reflected more than projected. Sometimes there is no sound at all. Sometimes the storm holds its voice close, whispering only to itself. These are the quietest storms, the ones whose rotation remains aloft, who dream of descent but never quite arrive. And even when the spin does reach Earth, even when air moves in columns and dust begins to lift, the sound is rarely sharp. More often, it is the sound of movement within distance, a far-off presence, a hush with depth. To listen for this sound is to tune yourself to the pulse of the atmosphere, to feel the language of pressure, changes, and ground vibration. It's not loud, it's not frightening, it is low, layered, and lulling. The sky speaks in harmonics. Rotation joins this choir gently, and from where you are, wrapped in stillness, that tone feels like a lullaby humming across the horizon. Not a warning, a song. Tornadoes often end as they begin, gracefully. In the final minutes of their lifespan, they stretch thinner and thinner, their form narrowing into what meteorologists call the rope stage. But this isn't a fray, it's a flourish. Picture a ribbon caught in breeze, not tugged, not snapped, but drifting, winding, diminishing with elegance. The tornado, once wide and powerful in shape, now becomes a filament, light, narrow, and winding as it lifts and curves in the air. It no longer carves the land, it dances above it, its purpose complete. This stage is among the most beautiful. The long, sinuous funnel twists and loops, sometimes curling back upon itself, sometimes reaching far but touching nothing. Its path becomes expressive, artistic, like smoke rising in slow motion. The wind inside is still real, still rotating, but it has loosened, it has exhaled, and in that breath, the structure begins to release. Observers often describe this stage with awe, not fear, but fascination. The rope tornado may shimmer with condensation, or pick up only the finest dust. Its edges blur, its motion softens, and then, just like that, it fades. The sky does not slam the door shut. It lets the rotation unravel, one strand at a time, until the funnel is gone, dissolved into the cloud base above, or evaporated completely, leaving only stillness behind. And in that stillness, the world rebalances. The wind, once tasked with turning, forgets its assignment. Trees straighten, grasses sway without rhythm. The air, still rich with memory, holds no more form. The rope stage is not an ending full of punctuation. It is a thread pulled through the last stitch. It is a curtain gently lowered. It is the spiral's final bow. And as it lifts, you feel it in your chest, not an alarm, but a hush that lingers, a hush that tells you the storm has finished. The sky moves in ways we cannot always see. But there is a watcher, a quiet, patient observer that listens with waves instead of ears. Doppler radar. It doesn't look up with eyes. It sends signals. It receives echoes. Each pulse of radar travels outward, brushing the air like sonar. It returns carrying secrets, where raindrops are, how winds are turning, what direction moisture flows. Radar sees the spiral before we can. It sees the beginnings of rotation in layers, soft turning in the middle of clouds, sometimes miles wide, hidden from human view. It watches as that gentle spin tightens. It notes when inbound winds and outbound winds lie side by side, a telltale sign of something beginning to turn. But it does not announce, it does not alarm. Radar simply watches and remembers and maps the movement of air in color-coded grace. Meteorologists interpret these patterns, green moving toward, red moving away, and piece together the story of the storm. But it is radar that reads the first lines. It is a quiet sentinel. It sees what we cannot. Rotation forming not at the surface, but aloft. A funnel not yet touching down. A signature that says the sky is sculpting. It sees rain wrapping around a core. It sees hail falling like crystals. It sees outflow boundaries curling like lace. And above all, it sees turning. Soft at first, then stronger, then letting go. Radar is the sky's mirror, not made of silver, but of signal. And in that mirror, rotation becomes known. Without it, we would miss the whispers. But thanks to radar, we listen to the storm as it speaks in spirals. Not every spiral seeks the ground. Many rotations remain suspended in the sky, high above rooftops and treetops, never reaching the surface. These are the sky's quiet dreams, tornadoes imagined, but never fully realized. We call them funnel clouds, and even earlier, simply rotation aloft. Their form is visible, yet incomplete. A winding that begins, then lingers, then fades. These non-touching funnels move with grace. They may extend from the base of a storm like tendrils of mist. They may twist and lean, dipping lower as if testing the air. But often they pull back. They dissolve. They drift into formlessness. It's a process of permission. For a tornado to touch down, the sky must meet the ground. A bridge must form, funnel reaching down, surface air rising to meet it. If that handshake does not happen, the funnel stays skybound. And sometimes that's all it wants to be. Just a thought. Just a slow curl in the clouds. Observers watch with gentle curiosity. The rotation may stir imagination, but not fear. It's a spectacle without consequence. A spiral without imprint. Radar may detect it. Pilots may note it. But the earth remains untouched. No grass bent. No dust lifted. Only the air above, shaped for a moment into a column, then unshaped. These are the storms that rehearse, that practice the art of spinning without needing to land. They remind us, not every potential becomes action. Some stay dreams, and sometimes dreams are enough. When rotation meets water, something exquisite occurs. A waterspout. Born of warm lakes or tropical seas, waterspouts are tornadoes in soft clothing. Their motion is the same, air spinning around a low-pressure core, but their canvas is liquid, their voice quieter. From a distance, they look like silver cords drawn between sky and surface. Not jagged, not chaotic, just elegant. They form beneath cumulus clouds, often in fair weather, especially over warm, shallow waters where surface air is moist and light. Rising gently, the air begins to spin. Not always fast, not always loud, but steadily. The waterspout stretches downward, it kisses the surface, and water, drawn upward, begins to rise, misting, swirling, caught in the embrace of rotation. It's not a suction, it's a dance. Fine spray lifts into the air, not in torrents, but in spirals. The waterspout traces its path across the lake, like a figure skater gliding across a frozen pond. Smooth, balanced, brief. Most waterspouts last only minutes. They drift with the wind. They dissipate as easily as they formed. And when they vanish, they leave no scar, only ripples. From boats, they appear ethereal. From shore, they seem delicate. And from above, they resemble brushstrokes, ink drawn lightly across blue. Waterspouts remind us, not all tornadoes roar. Some whisper over water. Some swirl in silence. Some begin and end in the space between breaths. And when the rotation lifts, the lake stills. The sky exhales. And the story ends where it began, with softness. A funnel doesn't fall. It doesn't leap. It descends like a breath, a whisper from the storm's midsection. A thread of rotation unraveling itself, layer by layer. It begins as an idea in the clouds, a hint of spin tucked into the cloud base, waiting quietly in the folding air. Up above, the mesocyclone has already begun its slow dance. Air is rising, curving, stretching into its spiral form. And when the balance is just right, when rising air is strong enough, when the pressure eases below, that spiral begins to reach down. But it does not drop, it lowers, softly. Often no one notices at first. There may be no sound, no shift in colour, only a subtle tightening in the fabric of the cloud. And then a shape begins, faint, wispy, like smoke rising in reverse, or like a shawl of condensation unspooling into form. The funnel forms from condensation, born where moist air cools as it rises. Its shape is not rigid, it is ever-changing, woven by invisible winds. Some appear wide at first, thick, heavy in presence. Others begin as thin tendrils, reaching downward tentatively, as if unsure they belong near the earth. The air inside the funnel moves faster than the eye can catch. Yet, from a distance, it all seems slow, calm, suspended. If you could hear the funnel speak, it would not be with a growl, but with breath drawn through a reed flute, a hush. Sometimes, dust rises from the ground to meet it. The two movements, one reaching down, the other reaching up, must connect for the tornado to be fully born. Until then, the funnel is just air, an outline, a gesture. And if that connection never happens, the funnel simply retreats, dissolving like a sigh into sky. Even when it does touch down, it may not be noticed at first, hidden by haze, or blurred into the grey of a cloud-filled world. This is not a dramatic entrance. It is a quiet arrival, a spiral deciding to show its form for just a little while. Funnel clouds remind us that even powerful structures can emerge gently, that even spinning columns of weather can arrive like a whisper, and eventually they fade the same way, not snapped out of existence, but thinned, unwound, returned to sky. No crash, no declaration, just release. Night arrives gently, and with it, the sky becomes less about clarity and more about suggestion. When tornadoes form after sundown, they are not harsh shapes. They are silhouettes, hints of structure glimpsed through moonlight or illuminated in flashes, a form outlined only for a moment before fading back into shadow. These are the nighttime spirals, ghost-like presences that glide across quiet land, more felt than seen. But even in darkness, they are calm. When the atmosphere turns at night, it does so more slowly. Surface cooling creates a blanket of stillness, a cap that holds moisture low, allowing lift to build slowly, deliberately. If a tornado forms, it often does so under low clouds, wrapped in warm, moist air and visible only when lightning draws its curtain back for a second. And what you see then is not drama, it's shape. It might be long and curved, slipping between fields. It might be wide and cloaked in darkness, its presence painted in silver for only a heartbeat. And then, darkness again. But that darkness does not threaten. It cradles. It slows time. Crickets may still chirp. Leaves may barely move. The air might feel thick but still. Night storms sound different too. Rain falls with less glare. Thunder arrives deeper, like a drum played beneath a quilt. And within that softness, a tornado, if it forms, passes through like a shadow cast by clouds. Observing such storms requires gentleness. Meteorologists rely on radar signatures, on dual polarization tools that quietly detect rotation through darkness. And yet, the human eye, even if it sees nothing, senses the mood of the night sky. A glint of motion, a shift in tone, not fear, not tension, just the awareness that the atmosphere is writing a brief, quiet spiral in the book of night. And when the lightning fades, when the moon returns and the funnel dissolves, all is night again, still, unwritten, ready to rest. Spring doesn't rush, it stretches. Slowly, quietly, the season begins to breathe, not with thunder, but with thaw. The soil warms first, its frost loosens, moisture begins to rise in tiny puffs you cannot see, and seeds begin to shift beneath the surface. Above, the air grows softer. Cold air still visits, but warmth begins to linger. And when that warmth stays long enough, when the sun reclines just a little higher in the sky, the atmosphere awakens, but not all at once. Birdsong returns in threads. Rain softens the ground. Clouds begin to stretch taller, like trees relearning how to stand. Spring is the season of stability shifting, not chaotic, but careful. It is when the balance between cool aloft and warmth at the surface tilts just enough for lift to occur. And with lift comes cloud, and with cloud comes motion. In the central plains, this becomes a slow build. Warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico begins to drift north, threading through grasses and over fences. At the same time, drier air slides in from the west. Above, the jet stream returns from its winter sleep. All of these ingredients stir together, not frantically, but like a pot coming to gentle simmer. Rotation becomes possible here, not likely every day, but quietly waiting. Some of the year's first mesocyclones form in spring. Some of the year's most delicate rope tornadoes trace their paths in April light. And the sky, like a painter with time, begins to shape its first spiral lines, but never urgently. Even the storms of spring arrive in rhythm. They build, they breathe, they let their towers rise slowly. Then they release, and when they pass, the grass is greener, the sky is rinsed, and spring rolls forward, like wind through an open field. In autumn, the sky speaks a different dialect. The light has changed. Everything feels lower, more golden, more hushed. Tornadoes in autumn are rare, but not impossible. When they do occur, they arrive not with summer's intensity, but with a cooler touch, a last breath of warmth wrapped in falling leaves. The ingredients for rotation still exist: moisture, lift, wind shear. But now, the sun's energy is gentler, storms form more sparingly, and the air carries a softness that summer never did. Autumn tornadoes often form along cold fronts where warm, moist air lingers just a little longer than expected. The contrast between that last heat and the incoming coolness creates a smooth layering in the sky, a space for wind to curve, for lift to lean, for rotation to whisper upward. These tornadoes are often short-lived, but they glide beautifully. Their light is different. Backlit by gold, framed by turning leaves, reflected in water that holds the season's warmth. They feel unexpected, but not intrusive, like a guest arriving after the music has stopped, staying only long enough to share a brief story and then slipping away. When they pass, autumn settles again. Clouds return to layers. The ground begins to firm. The sky reclines, and the rare rotation of fall becomes memory, folded gently between pages of harvest and wind. Not all tornadoes reveal themselves. Some are cloaked, not by night, but by rain. These are the rain-wrapped tornadoes. Shrouded in the storm's own curtain of water, they move unseen, their shapes veiled in silver and grey. You may not see the funnel, you may not see the dust, but inside that heavy rain, rotation still lives. It forms just the same, through shear, through lift, through spiraling air at the base of a mature storm. But instead of emerging in open view, it remains wrapped in its own rainfall, hidden by the storm's trailing edge. Rain-wrapped tornadoes often occur in high precipitation supercells, where updrafts and downdrafts blend and moisture pours in sheets around the rotation. From a distance, the sky looks like a smooth wall of silver. No sharp lines, no movement to track, just water falling in silk ribbons. But inside, the spiral continues. Radar sees what the eye cannot: velocity patterns, dual polarization clues, tiny shifts in wind that reveal the truth beneath the rain. For storm observers, these are the most mysterious, tornadoes that speak without form. They do not demand attention. They do not declare arrival. They pass quietly, cloaked in their own presence. And when they go, only the sound of rainfall remains, steady, soft, endless, like the sky whispering to itself long after the spiral has dissolved. Supercells are not angry. They are not wild. They are not storms to fear in this soft space of sleep. They are architectural wonders, crafted sky sculptures of quiet complexity, where air doesn't just rise, it organizes. These are not chaotic clouds. They are carefully arranged chambers of lift and rotation, movement and rest, shape and silence. A supercell begins with moisture. Warm, damp air near the surface starts to lift into the cooler sky above. As it rises, it cools and condenses, forming clouds. But this isn't a simple column. It becomes layered, folded, spiraled. The base of the cloud expands into a wide, dark shelf. Above it, the cloud towers, rising tens of thousands of feet into the sky like a great slow cathedral of air. From a distance, you might see its anvil top, a flat, sweeping extension that stretches downwind. This shape is created as rising air reaches the upper atmosphere and spreads outward, meeting the stable layer above like a hand pressed softly against glass. The structure is balanced. Inside, updrafts lift with calm persistence, spiraling gently as they climb. Around them, downdrafts fall, bringing cool air down from aloft, spreading out across the land like the hem of a dress trailing behind a dancer. And at the meeting point of these motions, between lift and fall, between warm and cool, a rotation can begin. Not all supercells produce tornadoes, but all have the quiet ingredients. At their base, the mesocyclone may form, a wide turning center, slow and careful. The sky does not demand, it allows. It allows air to spin in equilibrium. It allows structure to support softness. Meteorologists call supercells the kings of thunderstorms. But here, in this sleep-washed night, they are not kings. They are gentle castles in the clouds, crowned not with thunder, but with shape. Even when lightning flickers inside their walls, it feels contained. A lantern behind stained glass, a breath illuminating the architecture. Supercells remind us that the most powerful structures can also be graceful. They are balance in motion, and when we look up at their curling edges, their rising spires, their billowing floors, we are not watching a storm. We are watching a sky in design, rotation cradled in symmetry, stillness supported by motion, an atmosphere folding itself into a living sculpture, and then, when it is ready, unfolding again into rain. There is a place where the sky touches earth, not roughly, but gently, where the atmosphere learns the language of land, where rotation begins in whispers. This place is called the boundary layer. It is the lowest stretch of the atmosphere, just a few thousand feet deep. But it is here, in this quiet zone, that sky and soil speak in harmony. During the day, sunlight warms the ground. That warmth rises into the air just above, creating currents of lift. At night, the earth cools and the air settles, but always this lowest layer remains the meeting place. It is here that wind first meets trees, that moisture first lifts from fields, that heat stored in soil and pavement and water is released like a quiet breath. In this space, temperature shifts quickly. Wind direction may change with height. Humidity can be rich. And when all of these blend, they create the canvas upon which rotation may be painted. Tornadoes often emerge from this boundary layer, not abruptly, just gradually. Warm air rising, cool air descending, and in the middle, a turning. This isn't dramatic. This is a compromise. Air finding a way to move without resistance. The boundary layer is not just about physics. It's about connection. It's where pollen lifts into clouds, where scent travels from garden to storm, where birds ride thermals and insects drift with evening breeze. Meteorologists study this layer with care. They launch balloons, read soundings, measure its stability. Because what happens here, right above your rooftop, your pasture, your lake, can influence everything that happens higher up. And yet, most of us never feel it directly. But tonight, in the hush of rest, you can imagine it. A thin seam of air woven between land and sky. Delicate, essential, like a silk thread joining two worlds. And through that thread, tornadoes are sometimes born. Not as interruptions, but as translations. The earth exhaling upward, the sky responding in kind. The earth does not shout to the sky, it reaches. And it does so through updrafts, invisible streams of warm air rising steadily, drawn upward by contrast and invitation. They are the gentle elevators of the atmosphere. When the sun warms the ground, that heat gathers just above the surface. If the air is moist and the surrounding sky cooler, the warm air begins to lift. Not forcefully, not all at once, but like breath rising from warm skin in morning light. As the air ascends, it cools. When it cools enough, the moisture inside condenses, tiny droplets forming clouds. This process releases latent heat, which encourages the air to keep rising. A quiet feedback loop. Warmth begets lift. Lift begets clouds. And if the conditions are right, those clouds begin to grow tall, first as cumulus, then as towers, then as the lofty cathedrals of thunderstorms. Inside these clouds, updrafts continue to rise, sometimes at speeds of over 100 miles per hour. But here, we do not measure in miles. We measure in grace, in intention. These updrafts feed the storm. They do not scream. They do not shove. They rise with purpose, organized, steady, calm. They are the spine of supercells, the corridor through which energy moves upward, and within them, rotation can nest. If wind shear is present, the updraft may begin to spin. A column of air that once simply rose now turns as it climbs, like vapor twirling inside a candle's glow. This is how a storm begins to gather shape, not from chaos, but from lift, from the earth saying, here is warmth, here is moisture, here is the start, and the sky responds, thank you, let's rise together. Sometimes a storm is not content to spin just once. Sometimes it produces not a single spiral, but many, each emerging gently from the storm's base, one after another, like soft echoes across the land. These are called tornado families. They are not simultaneous. They are sequential, each tornado forming in its own time, its own way, connected not by force, but by lineage. Within a long-lived supercell, the environment can remain favorable for hours. As one tornado lifts and fades, the parent storm continues rotating, organizing, cradling new possibility. A second spiral may descend, then a third, each born of the same storm, but with its own character. Some may be brief and narrow, others more defined, but all share the same quiet ancestry, drawn from the same turning heart of cloud and air. On the ground, they leave their gentle marks, a curved trail in a field, a swirl of leaves beside a fence, each trace a signature. To meteorologists, these families are stories. To the atmosphere, they are breath, and to us, they remind that even the sky can repeat itself, not harshly, not urgently, but rhythmically. Each tornado becomes a chapter, each chapter a softened spiral, and eventually the book closes. The air rests, the storm moves on. But for a while, the sky told a family story, in rotation, in grace, in wind's memory. Most tornadoes rotate counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. That's the expected direction, the common spiral, shaped by the Coriolis effect and prevailing storm patterns. But sometimes, rarely, a tornado spins the other way. These are anticyclonic tornadoes. Their motion is reversed, yet still gentle, still shaped by the same soft forces. Rather than winding like a watch's steady hand, they curl backward, clockwise, a mirrored breath of air, responding to unusual conditions within a storm's structure. These often form on the flanks of supercells, where local wind shear has reversed direction, or in certain non-supercell environments, where surface boundaries meet in unexpected ways. But to the eye, the difference is subtle. A spiral is a spiral. A thread is still thread. They may be smaller, shorter-lived, but their story is just as valid, just as soft, just as serene in their rising and fading. In the sky's library of rotation, they are rare pages, tucked between the more familiar forms, but quietly treasured by those who study them. And to the listener, falling asleep beneath a cloud-painted ceiling, they are a reminder that nature sometimes chooses variation, that not all turns are the same, that even in symmetry there is room for surprise, a mirrored spiral, a backwards breath, a soft swirl of difference, and then stillness again for a tornado to be born. Ground and sky must meet. The funnel may stretch downward, slender, elegant, spiraling from the cloud base like a ribbon pulled by unseen hands. But that alone is not enough. The funnel is the sky's part of the equation, and for something to truly become a tornado, the earth must respond. From below, dust begins to rise. Leaves flutter upward. Grasses lift, not in panic, but in quiet reply. This is called the debris cloud, but it is more than particles. It is the handshake between the spiral above and the soil below. Only when they touch, visibly or invisibly, does the tornado become whole. The meeting isn't a crash, it's a greeting, sky reaching down, earth reaching up. Rotation in the cloud is common. Funnels are frequent visitors, but only a fraction complete the connection. Meteorologists call this a surface contact. It marks the moment when the rotating column becomes anchored. No longer just a suspended gesture of motion, but a complete pathway of rising, turning air. Sometimes the ground gives subtle signals, a ring of swirling dirt, a circle of rustled leaves, a shimmer in a wheat field. Sometimes the connection is invisible, seen only on radar, or felt as a shift in pressure, a hush in the trees. But always the joining is graceful. The funnel narrows and elongates. The ground swirls upward in response. And for a few minutes, or maybe longer, the sky and the earth become one system, not in tension, but in balance. And just as they meet, they also part. The funnel may lift, the dust may settle, the spiral may move on or dissolve entirely. And once again, the sky becomes cloud and the ground becomes still. The connection has ended, but the memory remains. A soft spiral, written briefly across both air and land. Not all tornadoes are loud or long. Many arrive like whispers, brief, gentle, gone before most know they were there. These are weak tornadoes, classified as EF or EF1 on the enhanced Fujita scale. But weak is not a fair word. Perhaps soft-spiraled, perhaps transient, perhaps fleeting sky signatures. They often form under modest storms, sometimes supercells, sometimes smaller systems. The conditions are just right for a brief rotation, a moment of connection between air layers. And then a funnel lowers. Not massive, but narrow. Not howling, but murmuring. They may last just a minute or two. Some leave a skip trace in a field. Some twirl through a quiet yard. Others touch a fence and vanish. Leaves swirl in place. Small branches tip. Grasses lean, then stand back up again. From above, radar may barely notice them. To a distant observer, they may look like a dancing dust devil with purpose. Yet these tornadoes still hold all the mechanics of their stronger siblings. Rising air, organized rotation, a connection to the surface. They are tornadoes in miniature, spirals rendered in lowercase. And they remind us that not every expression of energy needs to be large to be meaningful. Sometimes the atmosphere only needs to sigh, not speak, just exhale. And in that breath, a soft spiral forms, lives for a heartbeat, and releases. Not all tornadoes require thunder. Some arise beneath calm clouds, in light, sunlit air, without the towering structure of a supercell. These are landspouts, tornadoes formed from the ground up, built from surface-based spin. They are narrow, slender, simple, but not simple-minded. Landspouts begin when a column of air near the ground is already spinning. This spin may come from boundaries, lines where warm and cool air gently meet, or from breezes that curl across uneven land. This surface rotation is then stretched upward by a developing cloud, often a cumulus tower beginning to grow. The cloud pulls, the spin responds, and like thread caught by a rising hand, a column extends. No mesocyclone, no radar hook, just a ribbon of rotation, quietly born. They appear on quiet afternoons, under shallow convection, in places where storms may not seem strong. And yet, for a few moments, the air organizes. A spiral emerges. Dust lifts. A funnel coils upward, often barely visible. Photographers sometimes catch them near open fields, drawn to their elegance. They rarely last long. They rarely grow wide. But they are real. Nature's simpler sketch of a tornado, drawn not with thunder, but with breeze, sunlight, and surface breath. There's something you can't see, but the sky always feels it. It's called the dew point, the temperature at which air becomes saturated, when moisture condenses, when clouds begin to form. And in tornado formation, dew point is quiet royalty. A high dew point means the air is plush with invisible water vapor. It's thick with potential. The atmosphere becomes soft and buoyant, ready to build. Moisture is the cushion that supports lift. It's what allows rising air to stay warm enough to keep rising. It makes updrafts stronger, steadier, more supportive of rotation. Without moisture, the air is dry and reluctant. With it, the air becomes eager, elastic, willing to stretch upward. When dew points rise above 60 degrees, around 15 degrees, meteorologists begin to notice. When they rise above 65 degrees, they begin to listen more closely. It doesn't mean a tornado will form, but it means the canvas is prepared. Dew point also affects the cloud base. The lower the dew point depression, the gap between air temperature and dew point, the lower the cloud base. And low cloud bases make it easier for rotation aloft to connect with the surface. Everything feels closer, more possible, but never urgent. Dew point doesn't force rotation, it simply allows it, like the softness of fabric before it's shaped, like the warmth of bath water before a soak. It is the comfort the atmosphere leans into, a quiet enabler of spirals. All spirals need a stage. And for tornadoes, that stage begins with something called cyclogenesis, the birth of a low-pressure system. It doesn't happen in a flash. It's slow, methodical, rhythmic. Imagine the atmosphere breathing in, holding that breath, and slowly exhaling into form. Cyclogenesis begins when temperature differences across a region create imbalances. Cool air and warm air settle beside each other like different fabrics. The jet stream above notices, and it begins to guide wind and moisture into a soft curl. At the surface, pressure falls, not sharply, not abruptly, but like a slow kneeling. The sky begins to lower its weight gently. Clouds form in soft arcs, winds curve, moisture is drawn inward, and over time, hours, sometimes days, an entire storm system takes shape. Fronts develop, cold fronts trailing like blue seams, warm fronts folding forward like blankets of returning air. Together, they spin around a quiet center, a developing low, the storm's heart. And in the warm sector of this system, conditions sometimes align for deeper storms to grow, supercells that may one day spin. But none of it begins with frenzy. Cyclogenesis is the orchestra tuning before the piece, the stretching of limbs before a dance. It is atmosphere choosing motion, choosing shape, and when it is done, the system moves on. The air evens out. The pressure rises again. Balance, once shifted, is restored. And the story of the spiral moves forward on a stage built slowly, delicately, with breath. The atmosphere doesn't always move in bold gestures. Sometimes it simply layers itself, quietly, gently, one breath resting atop another. And one of the most subtle, yet powerful, layering events is the meeting of a warm front with cooler air. A warm front is not a line, it's a slope. A slow incline of warmer, moister air rising above a cooler surface. Picture a long scarf of air being laid gently over a chilled table. The air doesn't shove, it slides, patiently, with grace. When this warm, moisture-rich air is lifted, it cools. And as it cools, it condenses, forming clouds, building depth. And in certain conditions, it becomes the quiet foundation for something more. Instability, lift, rotation. It's not what you might expect from such a serene setup. The atmosphere becomes like a velvet cake, layered and rich, but soft. There's warmth near the ground, coolness aloft, and in between, a gentle gradient, one that allows the air to rise with ease. When wind begins to change with height, perhaps veering from southeast near the surface to southwest higher up, that's wind shear. And when you combine that with lifting layers and rich dew points, the environment becomes quietly supportive of rotating storms. Not forceful, not aggressive, just conducive, calmly welcoming of structure. These layered zones can be deceiving. From the ground, skies may look pale and unassuming, a soft overcast, maybe patchy light, the kind of sky that barely draws attention. But aloft, air is organizing, gently, elegantly. This is why some of the most significant tornadoes form along warm fronts. The setup is often modest in appearance, but the structure is there, tucked into the folds of the sky. Warm air doesn't bulldoze its way into cooler air. It eases in, glides upward, creating the kind of atmosphere that balances lift with grace. Sometimes, storms that form along these fronts appear embedded, wrapped in broader cloud decks. Their structure is subtle. Their spirals may be rain-wrapped, hidden from view. But the rotation, if present, is real, quiet, and true. Meteorologists watch for these moments. They read the layering in temperature profiles, spot the veering winds in soundings, and sense the hidden potential for spirals to unfold. For all its softness, a warm front is a threshold, not one of danger, but of readiness, of the atmosphere becoming arranged in just the right way. Where rain falls, it does so in smooth curtains. Where wind flows, it shifts gently in direction. The entire scene is one of quiet adjustment. And when rotation begins, it does so as if drawn along these layers, spirals following the slope, energy turning, not tumbling. There is something meditative about a warm front, something that speaks of balance and transition. You can almost feel it in your bones when one passes. Air thickens slightly, then loosens. Temperatures rise not suddenly, but steadily. The day softens. Humidity arrives on a hush, and all the while, the sky repositions itself. This is not a clash. It is a choreography. Warm over cool, moist over dry, turning over stillness. And sometimes, just sometimes, a spiral emerges. Not from noise, but from alignment. And when it does, the earth and sky, for a brief moment, are arranged in perfect softness. Look up on a winter's day, or in the cool mornings of spring, and you may see something unusual. Neat, parallel rows of clouds stretching across the sky. These are called cloud streets, and they form not in chaos, but in quiet order, rows of clouds lined up with the wind, floating in measured procession. Cloud streets form in the boundary layer, where cool air rests near the surface and warmer air sits above. When there's just enough instability and the surface is slightly warmer than the air above it, the atmosphere begins to roll, not wildly, but in smooth, gentle cylinders of rising and sinking air. This movement creates convection rolls. Think of them as long tubes of turning air, invisible to the eye, but gently spinning side by side. Where air rises in these rolls, clouds form. Where air sinks, the sky clears. The result? Long, straight, evenly spaced bands of cumulus clouds, like trails left by invisible fingers brushing across the atmosphere. A quiet pattern, drifting across sky and time. To see cloud streets is to witness the organization of air. They are not thunderstorms. They don't roar. They do not flash. But they show us that the sky is thinking in lines, not dots. In rhythm, not scatter. And in their quiet structure, these cloud streets sometimes offer a path toward rotation. If a disturbance, a small storm, a lifting boundary, or a shift in wind passes through these rolling air columns, it may inherit their spin. The rolls are already rotating, albeit horizontally. But with just the right nudge, perhaps from a rising thermal or a subtle twist in wind direction, that horizontal rotation can tilt vertically. And that is one of the ways tornadoes begin, through gentle prearrangement, through structure before motion. In this way, cloud streets can be seen as precursors, not guarantees, but invitations, a sign that the atmosphere is aligned, that air is flowing in rhythm, that something elegant may unfold. Pilots see cloud streets from above, stretching for hundreds of miles, soft ribbons across the landscape. Meteorologists watch satellite loops, where the stripes appear and drift, forming and fading with subtle grace. But on the ground, you need only tilt your head skyward and breathe and notice. The clouds do not demand attention, they invite it. They do not shout their presence, they whisper it. Even their names are soft. Stratocumulus, cumulus humilis, words that feel like pillows. When cloud streets vanish, they do so quietly. The rolls ease, the sun shifts, and the sky returns to scatter and swirl. But for a time, the sky is organized, and within that order, a spiral may one day form, not because of force, but because the atmosphere, like a mind in meditation, was aligned. And when the sky thinks in straight lines, it sometimes dreams in circles. The sky, though vast and ungraspable, has a pulse. Not a heartbeat, not a drum, but a slow, long breath, drawn and released across hours, across days. And one of the gentlest ways we measure this breath is through barometric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is simply the weight of the air above us. It presses gently on your shoulders, your rooftop, the grasses in a field. It's always there, always present, but it shifts ever so slightly, like a body adjusting in sleep. When barometric pressure falls, it is not a crash. It is a lullaby. It is the sky exhaling. This fall in pressure often signals a change is coming. Not something to fear, but something to observe. Clouds may begin to gather. Winds may slowly turn. Moisture may rise. These are not abrupt shifts, but subtle invitations, one part of the atmosphere inviting another to move. A falling pressure is like a hand opening. It loosens the grip of the air. It makes room for motion. It encourages lift, gently telling warm air, you may rise now. This soft lowering of pressure is a key ingredient in storm formation, especially in storms that may one day spin. When pressure drops slowly, steadily, it allows air to ascend. And as air rises, it cools. And as it cools, clouds form, towers built from tiny drops, stacked upward into sky. And if conditions are just right, if the wind is shifting, if the air is moist, if the layers are aligned, that rising motion can begin to turn. But it all starts with the fall. the pressures fall, the atmosphere's whispered permission. Some meteorologists describe it as deepening, a term that suggests not descent, but richness. A low-pressure system deepens, becoming more well-defined, more organized. But here, in this space of soft science and slow storytelling, we'll simply call it settling. The sky settles into a new shape, a lower pressure, a broader breath. You can sometimes feel it before you see it. A lightness in the air, a softness behind your eyes, a sense that something has shifted, though no wind has yet moved. Barometers, those quiet instruments of pressure, track this change with elegance. The needle drifts downward, not in haste, in grace. Even animals seem to notice. Birds fly lower, dogs rest more, bees return to hives. The earth, like us, listens to the barometer's song. It is not only storms that follow pressure's fall. Even gentle rains, soft breezes, and cloud-thick days often begin here. Not all pressure falls led to tornadoes. Most do not. But when tornadoes do form, it is almost always during a time when the air above us has quietly loosened, when the sky has lowered its hold and allowed motion to deepen. This is not instability, it is invitation. It is the way the atmosphere makes space for movement. And when the system passes, when the storm is done, the pressure rises again, the sky lifts, the air firms, and the breath completes. So, when you hear the phrase, pressure is falling, do not picture collapse. Picture release, a soft opening of the sky, a lullaby written in millibars, a prelude to motion, offered without urgency. Just as the sea ebbs before the tide, and the sky dips before the storm. And in that fall, in that graceful lowering, the spiral may begin, not from noise, but from the stillness before it. The sky, though vast and ungraspable, has a pulse, not a heartbeat, not a drum, but a slow, long breath, drawn and released across hours, across days. And one of the gentlest ways we measure this breath is through barometric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is simply the weight of the air above us. It presses gently on your shoulders, your rooftop, the grasses in a field. It's always there, always present, but it shifts ever so slightly, like a body adjusting in sleep. When barometric pressure falls, it is not a crash, it is a lullaby. It is the sky exhaling. This fall in pressure often signals a change is coming. Not something to fear, but something to observe. Clouds may begin to gather. Winds may slowly turn. Moisture may rise. These are not abrupt shifts, but subtle invitations. One part of the atmosphere inviting another to move. A falling pressure is like a hand opening. It loosens the grip of the air. It makes room for motion. It encourages lift, gently telling warm air, you may rise now. This soft lowering of pressure is a key ingredient in storm formation, especially in storms that may one day spin. When pressure drops slowly, steadily, it allows air to ascend. And as air rises, it cools. And as it cools, clouds form, towers built from tiny drops, stacked upward into sky. And if conditions are just right, if the wind is shifting, if the air is moist, if the layers are aligned, that rising motion can begin to turn. But it all starts with the fall. The pressures fall, the atmosphere's whispered permission. Some meteorologists describe it as deepening, a term that suggests not descent, but richness. A low pressure system deepens, becoming more well-defined, more organized. But here, in this space of soft science and slow storytelling, we'll simply call it settling. The sky settles into a new shape, a lower pressure, a broader breath. You can sometimes feel it before you see it. a lightness in the air, a softness behind your eyes, a sense that something has shifted, though no wind has yet moved. Barometers, those quiet instruments of pressure, track this change with elegance. The needle drifts downward, not in haste, in grace. Even animals seem to notice. Birds fly lower, dogs rest more, bees return to hives. The earth, like us, listens to the barometer's song. It is not only storms that follow pressure's fall. Even gentle rains, soft breezes, and cloud-thick days often begin here. Not all pressure falls led to tornadoes. Most do not. But when tornadoes do form, it is almost always during a time when the air above us has quietly loosened, when the sky has lowered its hold and allowed motion to deepen. This is not instability. It is invitation. It is the way the atmosphere makes space for movement. And when the system passes, when the storm is done, the pressure rises again. The sky lifts, the air firms, and the breath completes. So, when you hear the phrase, pressure is falling, do not picture collapse. Picture release. A soft opening of the sky, a lullaby written in millibars, a prelude to motion offered without urgency. Just as the sea ebbs before the tide, the sky dips before the storm. And in that fall, in that graceful lowering, the spiral may begin. Not from noise, but from the stillness before it. From the ground, the weather can feel vast. Clouds stretch to every horizon. Storms build above us like cathedrals of mist and breath. We look up and feel small beneath it all. But from space, the view changes. From up there, hundreds of miles above the Earth's curve, satellites drift silently. They do not buzz. They do not blink. They float, quiet observers, taking snapshots of our living sky. And when they look down, they see not chaos, but swirls. Satellite imagery reveals the great spirals of our weather, soft and sweeping. Storm systems don't look wild from above. They look composed, elegant, like strokes of watercolor swirling across a canvas of blue and green. A supercell, so towering and dramatic from below, appears as a subtle swirl in a field of white. Its anvil stretches outward like a feather. Its core, rotating gently, glows in textured greys. Larger systems, like mid-latitude cyclones, show wide arms of cloud wrapping around a central low-pressure area. They resemble pinwheels or blooming roses. Even hurricanes, seen from space, lose their threat and become mesmerizing. Spirals within spirals. Clouds arranged in symmetry, encircling an eye of perfect calm. There is no panic from above, no sound, only movement, only form. To view a storm from orbit is to see weather as art. The swirling of clouds follows the Coriolis force, the Earth's gentle spin. It's why Northern Hemisphere storms curl counterclockwise, and southern storms turn the opposite way. These curves are not mistakes. They are the planet's quiet handwriting. Meteorologists use satellite data to track every detail. Cloud tops, moisture, temperature, motion. But for us, resting now beneath blankets and dim light, it is enough to imagine that someone is watching the sky from above, not to judge it, but to understand it, to appreciate its shapes, its layers, its dance. There's a beauty in knowing that even the strongest storms, the ones that spin, lift, and swirl, are part of a broader canvas. From space, they all look soft. They all return to form. Even thunderstorms with rotation, even spirals that reach the ground, appear as brushstrokes among many. The Earth itself turns below. Blue oceans, wide plains, veins of river winding through green, and above it all, weather drifts, slow, deliberate, composed. No satellite has ever seen a storm that did not move. Everything flows, everything changes, everything returns to stillness. Even tornado-producing storms, those elegant, potent supercells, are only dots on the broader painting. From orbit, you can't hear the wind, you can't feel the rain, but you can see the motion, the poetry of it. And when the storm dissipates, as all storms do, its cloud remnants blend into the larger sky, like chalk dissolving in water. The spiral ends, the swirl fades, the Earth continues, and so does its watcher, that quiet satellite, gliding over dawn and dusk, watching storms not with alarm, but with reverence. The swirl is no longer a warning, it is wonder, and even when the weather changes, peace remains. Because from a distance, every storm looks like a sleeping breath, curled softly across the sky. Some people follow the sky, not to fear it, but to understand it. They are called storm chasers, though the name might suggest urgency or pursuit. In truth, many are quiet observers, meteorologists, photographers, naturalists, drifting through the landscape with patience, watching the sky unfold in all its layered movement. They chase not for thrill, but for knowledge, not to interrupt, but to witness. Chasers understand the rhythm of weather. They study wind profiles, surface maps, dew points, and radar loops, but they also read the land, the way a cloud towers differently over prairie than it does over hill. They know the scent of moist air in spring, the weight of a pressure drop, the hush before the first raindrops arrive. When a supercell rises on the horizon, they do not race toward it wildly. They position themselves carefully, at a respectful distance, near open fields or long rural roads. With cameras ready, radios tuned, and eyes soft upon the sky, they become documenters of rotation, historians of the spiral. Some storm chasers are scientists, gathering data on wind speed, temperature, and air pressure. Others are storytellers, capturing time-lapse footage of clouds curling in slow ballet. Some simply listen, windows rolled down, feeling the low tonal vibration of distant rotation humming across the plains. There's a reverence in their craft, a deep respect for the power and quiet order of the atmosphere. Chasers often wait hours in stillness. The sky may not produce a tornado at all. It may remain a beautifully sculpted supercell, full of motion and promise, but never forming a funnel. And that's enough. They understand that a tornado is not the goal. The journey, the slow unfolding of atmosphere, the subtle shifts in light and wind, the moment a shelf cloud glides overhead like the hull of a great ship, is the story itself. They are not invaders. They leave no mark. They follow, observe, and let the sky lead. And when a tornado does form, gracefully, briefly, dancing across a golden field or spinning like silver thread across a sunlit horizon, they hold their breath, not from fear, but from awe. Their cameras record, their voices lower. They whisper to others nearby, "It's down. There it is. Look at that motion." But they do not shout. The sky doesn't need it. And when the spiral lifts, as gently as it came, the chasers move on. Not to conquer, but to find the next conversation between cloud and earth. Storm chasers are often misunderstood, portrayed as reckless or wild, but many are quiet scholars of the sky, devoted to capturing its beauty, to sharing what most of us never see. Through their lenses, we witness the rotation not as threat, but as wonder. Through their stories, we come to understand that weather, even when spinning, can be poetry. And through their patience, they remind us that the atmosphere is not a force to fear, but a presence to witness, one slow mile at a time. After the spiral lifts, the sky becomes still again. The wind releases its grip, the air lightens, and the world exhales. What remains is called the aftermath, though the word suggests a harshness that doesn't always fit. In truth, what follows is often quiet, subdued, like the world catching its breath after movement. Trees lean in curious angles. Grasses show subtle swirls where air brushed them in passing. Fence lines may bend gently, as if nodding to the spiral that visited. Nature does not panic. It begins its recovery without noise. Birds return to branches. Insects resume their soft buzz. Leaves rearrange themselves. Rain, if it falls, does so gently, washing over the ground, soothing it. The atmosphere resets. Pressures balance. Clouds thin and rise. And light, often golden in the hours after a storm, pours over the landscape like warm balm. For people, the aftermath can be more layered. Even small tornadoes leave changes, broken branches, scattered petals, memories folded into the evening, but the land itself responds with grace. Plants bend, then grow again. Soil breathes. Moisture settles into roots. Recovery is not always rebuilding. Sometimes it is simply rest. Letting the air be still. Letting time hold the space where rotation once spun. And eventually, the signs fade. The grass regrows. The clouds move on. The spiral becomes story, not erased, but softened. And the sky, ever gentle, reminds us what turned can be still, what moved can rest, and what swirled with energy can return to calm. The stories we tell about tornadoes often contain shadows, but here, beneath the sleep-soft sky, we gently set those stories down and let the truth rise, quiet and clear. Myth 1. Tornadoes always arrive in chaos. Not so. Many begin in silence. A gentle turn of wind layers, a funnel descending like a breath. They are not always loud, not always sudden. Their formation is often slow, layered, and soft. Myth 2. A green sky guarantees a tornado. A green tint in clouds can occur when sunlight filters through moisture-rich air, especially near hail. It suggests a strong storm, but not always a tornado. The sky may be grey, silver, even blue when rotation begins. Colour is not prophecy, it is poetry. Myth 3. Tornadoes avoid cities. No boundary in concrete or structure keeps spirals away. They follow atmosphere, not architecture. Though less common in dense urban spaces, they are not immune. Rotation is shaped by wind, not walls. Myth 4. Overpasses offer safety. In truth, overpasses can intensify wind speed due to their shape. They are not shelter. Safer places lie lower, flat, enclosed, still. Myth 5. Open windows to equalize pressure. There's no need. Structures do not explode from pressure differences. Better to stay secure, sheltered, and calm. Myth 6. Tornadoes always look the same. They don't. Some are wide and slow, others narrow and quick. Some are roped, some wrapped in rain. Each one moves with its own rhythm, its own softness, its own design, and perhaps the greatest myth, that tornadoes are only destruction. Tonight, we dissolve that too. Tornadoes are part of the atmosphere's vocabulary. They are not punishment. They are process. Rotation formed in response to warmth, moisture, lift. No villainy, no vengeance. Only the sky, moving in spirals, then releasing. Let the myths dissolve now, like fog at sunrise. Each spiral is unique, formed by a singular blend of temperature, terrain, timing, and wind. No two tornadoes follow the same path. No two spin with the same texture. Like snowflakes, they are shaped by subtle differences. A slightly warmer surface, a shift in wind direction, a drier pocket of air aloft. One may last seconds, another nearly an hour. One may roam across prairie, another may spin briefly in a sunlit field, never touching anything but grass. Even their sounds vary. Some hum low, Others seem silent. Some carry a rustle, not a roar. Their shapes shift too. A wedge tornado spreads wide at the base. A rope tornado curves and coils like silver thread. A cone hangs symmetrical, quietly balanced between earth and cloud. Some stay invisible, wrapped in rain. Others gleam with sunlight behind them, outlined like charcoal against dusk. But they all share one thing. They begin in structure, not chaos. They are not copied. They are composed. Each is a moment of the atmosphere expressing itself, one quiet spiral at a time. Sometimes the spiral stays above. The funnel hangs. The cloud base lowers. Air rotates. But nothing ever connects with the earth. These are non-tornadic rotations, a ballet suspended in the sky. From the ground, you may see a funnel ghosting downward, thin, twisting, ephemeral, but the ground remains untouched. No swirling debris, no dust drawn upward. And so, by definition, there is no tornado, only a funnel cloud. It is rotation without contact, a sky stirring with no footprint. Often, these occur when the storm has organized beautifully aloft, but the surface air is just not ready, not warm enough, not moist enough, not aligned. And that's okay. Not every spiral needs to descend. Not every potential must become event. Some spirals remain sky-held, like thoughts never spoken, dreams never acted upon. Radar sees them, observers name them, but the land remains still. These moments are just as real, just as meaningful. They remind us that potential can exist quietly, that energy can be held, that rotation doesn't always need result. Sometimes the sky simply spins, and then lets go. Tornadoes are not bound to one place. They are wanderers of the atmosphere, spirals that appear wherever conditions invite them, quiet travelers shaped by the rhythm of local skies. Though many think first of the central United States, tornadoes touch lands far and wide. Each region, its own quiet host, each with its own version of the spiral's soft breath. In Argentina, vast plains known as the Pampas mirror the Great Plains of North America. Broad, open spaces where warm air meets cool, and rotation sometimes unfolds in golden evening haze. In Bangladesh, where monsoon moisture meets shifting winds, the sky occasionally lowers its spin during the transition seasons, a spiral wrapped in humidity, brief but real. South Africa, Brazil, Australia, they each receive a few spirals a year. Tornadoes that thread themselves into rural hills or drift over farmland in moments few people ever witness. In Europe too, tornadoes come, though often more softly. The United Kingdom, France, Germany, they host narrow funnels spun from sea breezes or frontal boundaries, their paths small, their lifespans modest. Even Russia, China, and Japan have felt these brief spirals, born not of force, but of alignment. Across the world, tornadoes speak different dialects, formed in different air masses, shaped by different landforms, framed by different cloudscapes. But the physics is the same. Lift, moisture, shear, and a balancing atmosphere, ready to turn. In some places, the spirals are celebrated, photographed, studied, traced in research papers and satellite loops. In others, they are rare guests, unknown to many, yet quietly present. Sometimes they form over grasslands, sometimes over mountains, sometimes beside warm coastlines, where land breezes tug gently on the sky, and sometimes, most beautifully, they occur where few expect them, in forests or along fjords, brief spirals remembered only by leaves. Tornadoes across the world are not copies. They are expressions, drawn in local air, coloured by regional rhythms. They remind us that we share an atmosphere, that the sky does not end at borders, that rotation, like music, can be composed anywhere when the instruments align, and wherever they form, the spiral is the same gentle wonder, turning, lifting, letting go. No spiral spins forever. Even the most organized rotation, carefully built, gently balanced, eventually releases its form. The atmosphere does not sustain tension endlessly. It is built for balance, and after each spiral, it returns there. After the funnel narrows, after the winds slow, after the column bends and fades, a calmness returns. The sky loosens, the storm stretches out into softer clouds, and the wind no longer curves, it drifts. This is the natural rhythm. Build, release, stir, settle. Tornadoes are not permanent features. They are brief guests. Even the longest lived among them, those that wander across many miles, fade eventually into mist. The storm that birthed them may continue, but its spiral heart lets go. We call this dissipation, but it is also a kind of exhale. You can feel it in the landscape, the stillness afterward, the soft rustle of grasses returning to their vertical rest, the air no longer moving with spiral intent. Birds return to flight, leaves stop their small circles, and the light, diffused through clearing clouds, becomes almost golden in tone. Barometers rise, temperatures even out, and the surface winds, once feeding into motion, fall asleep. This is not collapse. It is closure. Even the radar shows it. The once tight couplets of rotation soften into less organized flow. The swirl becomes a scatter. The pattern becomes a pause. And with that, the spiral ends. The sky, so recently coiled, becomes wide and open again. It always does. That is the promise of the atmosphere. No motion lasts forever. Every vortex has its end. Every imbalance finds resolution. And we, watching from below, are reminded, even great forces let go. Even tension, when it has served its moment, releases into calm. Silence after the storm. The spiral fades, and in its place, a hush. This is the silence after the storm, a quiet so complete, it feels like the world has paused, not in fear, in recovery. The air is thicker now, washed clean by rainfall and wind. The sky has shed its spiral, and in that letting go, something new begins. No more inflow, no more rising columns, no more curved echo on the radar, just air settling. The trees, still glistening, stop swaying. They stand in stillness, dripping, reflecting sky. The ground is damp. The dust has been rinsed. Even footsteps feel quieter in this post-storm softness. You may step outside and hear nothing but the drop of water from leaves, the gentle creak of porch wood, the absence of tension. Insects return first, tentative at first, then assured. Birds re-enter the sky, clouds part slowly, and somewhere in the distance, sunlight brushes wet rooftops. This silence is not empty. It is full of return, of breath, of a planet resetting itself. Meteorologists call this the rear flank, the area behind a mature storm. Often rain-cooled, often wind-sculpted, always quieter than what came before. In that rear flank, we are safe, we are calm, we are listening to the absence. And the absence, somehow, holds everything. Tornadoes are not punishments. They are not anger from the sky. They are part of nature's way of redistributing energy, softly, when we understand it. The atmosphere is constantly working to balance itself. It receives sunlight, moisture, warmth, and sometimes it needs to move that energy around. So it does. Through breezes, through rain, and sometimes through spiral. A tornado is simply the most concentrated form of that redistribution. Warm air rising, cool air sinking, winds turning, and for a moment, a column forms. Not because the earth has done wrong, not because the sky is furious, but because balance is active. It adjusts, releases, realigns. Just as your body stretches after sleep or exhales deeply after holding tension, the sky stretches too. Rotation is part of that release. It doesn't last, it doesn't linger, it simply serves its moment and dissolves. And then nature moves forward. Fields regrow, clouds thin, new air masses arrive, and the atmosphere once again finds peace. This isn't destruction, it is movement. Motion with purpose, motion with order, and always with resolution. Even after it ends, the spiral is remembered, not in sound, not in fear, but in shape and in stillness. The air holds a softness, as if it recalls the path rotation once traced. A gentler breeze, a cooler tone in the sky's colour, the faint scent of earth stirred by wind. The spiral is gone, but something of it remains. In the way grasses lie, curved slightly. In the way clouds drift slower. In the way trees seem to lean, ever so slightly, toward the wind that once passed through. You may remember it too, not just the funnel, but the way the world paused, the tone of the light, the hush that followed. These are quiet memories, felt more than seen, understood more than spoken. The spiral does not leave a wound, it leaves a presence, a reminder that the sky is alive. That movement can be graceful, that even rotation can carry peace. And when it is gone, the world resumes. Birdsong returns, light filters through, the atmosphere calms, and you, beneath all of it, rest in the knowledge that every spiral has its end, and every sky its clearing. The memory fades, but serenity remains. As our journey winds down, the spiral softens, the wind eases, and the atmosphere exhales. Tonight, we traced the sky's quietest turns, the soft formation of funnels, the gentle balance of air, the poetry of pressure and flow. Each chapter was not a warning, but a lullaby, not a forecast, but a meditation. I hope this sleepy passage through the world of tornadoes brought you comfort, curiosity, and rest. Even in rotation, the sky is kind. Even in motion, it remembers to return to calm. May the rhythms of lift and stillness soothe your thoughts and remind you that release follows every rise, that peace always returns. If you'd like to support more of these gentle weather journeys, you're always welcome to like or subscribe, only if it feels peaceful to do so. There's never any pressure, only invitation. For now, there's nothing left but stillness. You've listened. You've wandered calmly beneath a sky of spirals. And now you are safe to rest. Let your breath settle like dew. Let your thoughts drift like falling pressure. Feel free to fall asleep, slowly, softly. Good night, and calm skies to you.